would hate to live and die and never know what would happen if I ever committed myself to anything. Some people have never thrown their whole self at nothing. Not at school, not at work, not at marriage. Oh my God, you've had one foot in and one foot out of every dream all of your life, and you've never seen what you could be if you ever really connected and threw everything. And that's what's going to make your death so sad. That's what's going to make it so sad. Is that you never lived first. You never fully engaged. You'll never know what you could have been if you would have really committed yourself. You're just talented enough to get over.
Failure is a part of the process. You have to fail to win. You have to lose your fear of failure. Failure is a part of the process. People who never fail, never try. You have to fail. You got to get it wrong to get it right. You learn nothing from winning. You only learn from your failures. Warren Buffett said he won't even invest in a person's business unless they failed in 2 other businesses. Because now you know what not to do. And so I think that's probably the biggest thing, man. I've overcome so many failures. I've failed more times than I've succeeded. That's, I tell you the truth, man. It's like Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan took 949 game-winning shots. He only made 123. He's the greatest basketball player to ever live. He only made 123 game-winning shots. He took 949 of them. All you got to do is win some of the time. A professional baseball player, out of every 10 at bat, if he hits the ball 3 times out of 10, he makes millions of dollars. You understand? If a basketball player makes 50% of his shots, he makes millions of dollars. All he got to do is hit half of them. Not at the free throw, but in the game. That's what you got to learn. Probably the other thing for me is when I stopped living my life in probabilities and started living only in possibility. Probability is when somebody gives you a statistic, like they told me 1 in every 20,000 comedians will get on the Tonight Show. That was the odds. And I went, cool. And the dude went, what do you mean cool? I said, I'm going to get on the Tonight Show. He said, no, you didn't listen to me. He said, 1 in every 20,000 ever make it to the Tonight Show. Excuse me. You did say 1, didn't you? That's the possibility of winning. That's the attitude you have to have about it. All you want to do is live in the possibility and ignore the probability. Probability simply means to me, probably ain't going to happen. That's what that means. Possibility is it can happen. You just got to have that, man.
We all feel like giving up sometimes. We all go through times where we feel like God is 1 million miles away. But we don't have any idea what He's doing, when we're tired, when we're weary, when we think we just can't go on.
Most people are afraid to set great dreams and set big goals because of the fear of failure. There's something much worse than failure. It is the fear of failure.
I want to remind you that failure is not final, it's formative. It is part of the process. It's part of the journey. Your failure matters as much as your success. How do you think you're going to grow if you don't ever fail? Yet some of you have failed and you have decided, well, guess what? I'm a failure. No, failure is an event. It is never a person.
I need you to make up in your mind that the only way you can lose is if you quit. I just need you to keep going.
First, you cannot give up. When you enter into your long season, you've got to give it all you got. When people go into a season of struggle, the first thing that they want to do is take a sabbatical. But whenever trouble comes, the only way that you can get through trouble is work your way through it.
Make a declaration to yourself. Declare all out war that you're going to get out of this rut. I suggest to you that if you are facing a challenge, don't stop. Stay busy. Work your plan.
Don't confuse movement with progress. In order to achieve your goals, you must apply discipline, which you have already done, and consistency every day. You have to work at it. Every day. You have to plan. Every day. You've heard the saying, we don't plan to fail. We fail to plan. Hard work works. Working really hard is what successful people do.
And I can tell you from my own personal experience, don't give up there.
Develop your own compass and trust it. Take risks. Dare to fail. Remember, the first person through the wall always gets hurt. You're going to fall down, but the world doesn't care how many times you fall down as long as it's one fewer than the number of times you get back up.
If you want to grow up, you want to be mature, there is no way to do it without pain. You can't grow up on easy street. And the very thing that discourages you is the very thing that develops you.
Make one room in your house as beautiful as possible. That's what I'm writing about now. I talked a lot already about the necessity of cleaning your room, which is, in some sense a foolish piece of advice because it seems so obvious, but it's not obvious at all. And you'll find if you try it, especially if you're in a household that's not very functional, that you'll encounter obstacles that you couldn't imagine existed while you're trying to put your life in order. And you can take your surroundings beyond order and move towards beauty, and that's unbelievably useful because, well, beauty calls people to their higher being, I would say, and to make friends with beauty is to introduce yourself very carefully to one of the mysteries of life that make it worth living.
Now, we teach things that are generally not taught in school, as I already have said, but I want to talk about another little factor. 90% of the visits to medical doctors are directly or indirectly related to stress. 90%. My stress level, and I face as many deadlines as anybody you know. It's always a book production, a class I'm teaching, a seminar I'm presenting, and each one of them requires time and concentration. Example, how many of you feel like I've made this talk before? Can I see your hand, please? Several hundred times. I made it yesterday. You know what I did between yesterday and today? I spent over 6 hours getting ready for today. You see, I think it would be arrogant if I thought I could stand up and spit it out just because I did it yesterday or hundreds of times. That's arrogance. When you respond to life instead of react to it, react is negative. You get sick, go to the doctor, she gives you a prescription, says, see me tomorrow. You walk in the next day, she said, uh-oh, it's not working. We're going to have to change the prescription. You get a little nervous. But if she smiled and said, hey, it's working. And so she's just responded, and you feel better because now you see some real hope in order to get ahead in life.
Make friends with people who want the best for you. And that's a meditation on my own childhood and adolescence to some degree. I had friends who wanted the best for me and friends who didn't. And, they were friends who, some of them were aiming up and some of them were aiming down. And if you have a friend that's aiming down and you do something that's aiming up, then they're generally not that happy about it. They try to top your accomplishment with one of their own, hypothetical or real, or put down what you're doing, or offer you a cigarette if you're trying to quit and you've kind of done that successfully, or a drink if you've been drinking too much and are trying to stop being an alcoholic, or they're cynical and bitter and devoted towards no good. And sometimes that's family members too. And sometimes it's even part of you, But this chapter is an injunction to people, is like you have an ethical responsibility to take care of yourself, you have an ethical responsibility to surround yourself with people who have the courage and faith and wisdom to wish you well when you've done something good and to stop you when you're doing something destructive. And if your friends aren't like that, then they're not your friends. And maintaining your friendships with them might not even be in their interest. And so it's a tricky argument to make, because I'm not saying, whenever anyone's in trouble, you should, push them into a ditch and then give them a couple of kicks. That's not the idea. The idea is that, but I had a couple of rules I didn't write about. One was be careful
be careful about whom you share good news with. And another was be careful about whom you share bad news with. And everyone, those rules ring in people's minds quite quickly. A friend is someone you can share good news with, you know. You go to them and you say, hey, look, this good thing happened to me. And they say, look, I'm so happy that that happened to you. Like, way to be. And they don't think, God damn it, why didn't that happen to me? And like, you know, you didn't deserve it. Here's a bunch of reasons you're stupid and why it won't work. It's like, that's not helpful. And so I would say, like, if people are, you know what, the other thing people are doing, if they're trying to drag you down, let's say, is they're trying to see if you'll put up with it. Because they have this idea that maybe life isn't worth living and things aren't good. And then if they can besmirch, let's say, to use an archaic term, something that's pristine and good, then they demonstrate to themselves that there is no true ideal and that there's no necessary reason to be responsible and to strive forward. And so they use you as a test case. You know, I'll just push you down into the low lobster bin and see how you respond. And if you put up with it, then yeah, my cynicism is fully justified. If you take people and you expose them voluntarily to things that they are avoiding and are afraid of, you know, that they know they need to overcome in order to meet their goals, their self-defined goals. If you can teach people to stand up in the face of the things they're afraid of, they get stronger. And you don't know what the upper limits to that are, because you might ask yourself, like, if for 10 years, if you didn't avoid doing what you knew you needed to do, by your own definitions, right, within the value structure that you've created, to the degree that you've done that, what would you be like?
Greatness is not this wonderful, esoteric, elusive, God-like feature that only the special among us will ever taste. You know, it's something that truly exists in all of us. It's very simple.
I told myself that this might be your current circumstances, but this will not be how the story ends. All you have to do, E.T., is to survive today.
My glory, it doesn't happen in front of a crowd. It doesn't happen in a stadium. It doesn't happen on a stage. There's no medals handed out. My glory happens in the darkness of the early morning, in solitude, alone, where I try. And I try, and I try again to be everything that I possibly can.
Hello guys, today our topic is fear kills dream. It's wishing to himself. It's always been there. Has it? Young James is standing by front of this class, hasting to give a pre-presentation. His plums sweats to head racing. James, go ahead. Whenever you're ready. Need room to feel so suffocating. James determines through these preparations, barely adorable. Ruby has a force of loss in this thought. Every time I wanted to try some things here, held me back. It's easy to not try than to fail right. Jim stand by a casually school's application on the table. He had hovers over it. Why do you want these jobs? It means a fight just in this seat, struggling to find the word. Jensen clenches his fists. Fear kept me from pushing my position, my dream. But not anyone anymore. In on the phone, talking to immediately. I'm submitting my application today. No more holding back. It has a bad smell like in the face. Her like dreams, but currently can make them come true. He turns off the light, leaving the room in darkness. Feed out.